Imagine the moment you're told you're living on borrowed time, that every day matters in ways you never considered. Now, picture coming home right after to find the one person you trusted in someone else's arms. That's the day my life split in two. Instead of confronting her, I made a choice to rewrite the final chapter of my story on my own terms. This is about more than betrayal. It's about finding peace, creating a lasting legacy, and leaving behind something that couldn't be tainted. Join me as I share my journey from heartbreak to true intention and satisfaction. It was the kind of day that etches itself deep into memory, each moment pulsing with a surreal clarity. When the doctor entered the room, I braced myself, suspecting bad news. But nothing could prepare me for the weight of his words. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The shock hit me like a tidal wave, accompanied by a strange sense of intent. I wanted to understand every corner of this reality before letting it sink in. Terminal echoed in my mind, distant and hollow, a word you don't expect to hear about yourself. But as if fate had one last twist, I walked into my own home later that day, seeking comfort, only to find my wife in someone else's arms. I froze, hidden in the shadow of the hallway, watching the scene play out, as if I were a stranger in my own life. There was a twisted clarity, a cold, almost calculated awareness that settled in my chest. Here I was, suddenly fighting a silent war on two fronts, a ticking clock in my body, and a betrayal of the heart. My intentions shifted in that instant. I wasn't going to confront her then. Not yet. First, I needed a plan. This was no longer just about heartbreak or loyalty. This was about shaping the end of my story on my own terms, quietly and with purpose. By the end of the night, I had set my course. The pain was still fresh, raw and undeniable, but a strange sense of satisfaction started creeping in. I'd spend my final days, however few, on my terms, with intention and with focus. She wouldn't know I had seen her. Not yet. And there was something powerful in keeping that knowledge close. For now, I'd let her believe I was blissfully unaware, while I worked out each careful step of my final chapter, one that would be crafted exactly how I wanted it. The shock of that day lingered, but I had no time to dwell. My first step was to meet with my lawyer, a steady presence as I laid out the essentials. Together, we combed through every detail of my will, recalibrating how to protect what mattered most. My wife wouldn't walk away with a slice of my life's work. No, that satisfaction wouldn't be hers. I worked with precise intention, adjusting prenuptial clauses, sealing loopholes, and preserving what I'd built over decades. I could almost feel a quiet satisfaction settling in. Each signed page another layer of control I was regaining over my own story. I'd need evidence, though, undeniable proof of her infidelity to secure my plans. So I began gathering it, silently, carefully. There was no satisfaction in it, only a grim necessity, an act of self-protection. But I kept my children, my family, shielded from the storm. It wasn't time yet. We still had the holidays to spend together, and I wasn't about to let her betrayal steal the last peaceful Christmas I had with them. They deserved these moments untouched, unaware of the intentions I was setting in motion behind the scenes. Yet, the reality of my diagnosis loomed in the back of my mind. A reminder that every day mattered. The legal meetings, the quiet proof gathering, it was all a means to an end. And while each step took an ounce of my energy, it also fueled something in me, a sense of control that had slipped from my grasp the moment I'd heard stage 4. I knew that soon, I'd have to share my intentions and my diagnosis with those who mattered most, and as the holidays crept closer, I readied myself for that conversation. The holidays passed with a bittersweet warmth, every moment etched with a deeper meaning. And as we crossed into the new year, I gathered my family. I'd prepared for this, rehearsed the words I'd say, but nothing could soften the blow. When I told them about my diagnosis, I could see the disbelief, the pain flickering in their eyes. They deserved honesty, so I shared not only my illness, but also my intentions, the decisions I'd made to protect our family's future. Each word felt like a weight lifted, though the reality felt heavier than ever. I explained that my wishes for our family's legacy went beyond finances. It was about the life I envisioned for them, The family fund would be their safety net, one carefully structured to provide long-term satisfaction and stability. They understood that my intentions were rooted in love, though the decisions about my wife's betrayal were still my own burden. For now, I kept that revelation to myself, not wanting to cloud this moment of unity and purpose. They needed to feel the strength of our bond, untarnished by the details I still held close. As the conversation drew to a close, I sensed a new clarity in them, a willingness to carry the torch forward when the time came. It was hard to hold back the full story, but I knew this wasn't the moment to introduce the shadows. Instead, I focused on the satisfaction of knowing I'd shared my vision with them, feeling an unexpected peace amidst the turmoil. In time, I knew there'd be another conversation, one that would bring the truth to light and lead to the next chapter in this journey. I arranged for us to meet, just her and me, in a quiet, familiar place. As I waited, I felt an odd calm, an almost satisfying stillness, a resolve I hadn't felt since that day. When she arrived, I didn't start with accusations. Instead, I laid it out slowly, letting the weight of my words sink in. I told her about my diagnosis first, watching her face shift, the shock washing over her. Then, calmly, I revealed that I knew about her affair. Her face fell, and in that silence, I could see the moment she understood that there'd be no forgiveness here, only finality. My intentions were clear, and I kept my voice steady. I slid the divorce papers across the table, a physical embodiment of my decision, firm and unshakable. I explained that our shared history had come to an end, and that the future I'd planned wouldn't include her. She wouldn't have access to the family fund or the legacy I'd carefully set aside for our children. I felt a deep, steady satisfaction in reclaiming my life's work, ensuring it remained untouched by betrayal. She reached for words, but I was already a step ahead, firm in my choice to keep our paths separate. As she looked at me, stunned and searching for a way back, I held my ground resolute. I wasn't about to let the past cloud what little time I had left. With the divorce set in motion, I'd finally taken control of my story. The tension in the air was thick, and I left her in that silence, a silence that spoke of doors closed and chapters finished. Walking away, I felt a strange peace, knowing I'd freed myself for what lay ahead. And in the midst of it all, I could only wonder what unexpected connections might find me next. In the days that followed, I found an unexpected ally in Carol, one of my wife's friends. She'd reached out, her tone more sympathetic than I'd anticipated, and in our conversations, her honesty brought a surprising clarity. Carol knew more than I'd imagined. She'd seen the signs long before I had, but out of respect, she'd held back. Yet now, her intentions were genuine. She wanted to help, to offer the kind of steady support that goes beyond words. It was oddly satisfying to find trust and understanding from someone so close to the situation, someone who had witnessed both sides. As the days slipped by, Carol's presence became a constant, her companionship a quiet source of comfort. She didn't press, didn't pry. She just listened, her empathy as steady as her friendship. In those moments, I felt a lightness, a kind of peace I hadn't known in a long time. She even offered to help with my family, easing their journey as my health declined. Carol's support was more than just a kind gesture. It was an unexpected gift, one that satisfied a deep need for connection in my final days. With her, there were no judgments, only a calm acceptance of the road I was on. In the time we shared, Carol's genuine care became a bridge back to my own sense of self, a reminder that even as life grew complicated, there were still simple, sincere connections to be found. Her laughter, her warmth, they offered me a respite from the weight of everything else. And as I grew weaker, Carol's support became invaluable, her presence a steady anchor as I prepared to let go. In the back of my mind, I sensed this was only the beginning of the ways she would help me, the ways she would help my family adjust in the days ahead. My strength began to slip, each day bringing new reminders of my body's decline. The hospital became a second home, its sterile walls both a comfort and a cage. I could feel the end approaching, a steady, unrelenting presence. My family visited often, their faces a mixture of courage and sorrow. They knew my intentions, to refuse aggressive treatments, to find satisfaction in these last days, surrounded by loved ones rather than machines. Yet, one visitor caught me off guard, my ex-wife, desperate, trying to rekindle what was long gone. I kept my resolve firm, made it clear this was a door I'd chosen to close. The children gathered around me, their voices and laughter filling the room with warmth and purpose. Carol was there too, her quiet support a constant balm amidst the whirlwind of emotions. She'd become more than a friend. She was a steady presence, a source of strength for both me and my family. There was a calm satisfaction in knowing that they would have each other once I was gone. And even though the pain grew with each passing day, my heart felt strangely light, free from burdens that once held me down. I could see in their eyes that they understood. They'd found a way to accept what was coming. In those final days, surrounded by family, I felt a strange peace settle over me. There was no need for words, no lingering bitterness, just an unspoken agreement to savor every moment together. Carol held my hand as I looked around the room one last time, taking in each face, each smile. I felt the satisfaction of a life finally laid to rest with intention, knowing I'd done everything I could to protect and guide them. And as I drifted off, I could sense a calm reassurance, a quiet certainty that my family would carry on with strength and unity. When I finally slipped away, I knew my family would find a final message waiting for them, a letter I'd written in those quiet moments, a reflection on life, love, and forgiveness. In it, I shared my gratitude for the support I'd received and the strength I'd found in these last months, especially in their presence. I poured everything I had left into those words, hoping they'd feel the warmth of my intentions long after I was gone. My wish was simple, that my family would find satisfaction in the love I'd left behind, in the traditions we'd created, and in the peace I'd found in accepting my fate. I asked them to honor my memory in two special ways. First, by keeping a part of me close, with a memorial on our family's land, a place where my ashes would be laid to rest, part of the soil that held our history. I wanted them to feel my presence with them, part of every step they take there. The rest of my ashes, I asked to be spread around our old home, the same soil I'd worked with my hands, the same land that had grounded me. I wanted them to find satisfaction in knowing I'd be there, quietly watching over them, a gentle part of the life they'd go on to build. With the letter as my final gesture, I hoped they'd find comfort, a sense of intention woven into every line. My last words were a reminder that, even as I faced my end, I was at peace, knowing they'd continue our legacy, holding onto what we'd built together. I could only hope they'd look back and see the strength in themselves, the same resilience that had carried me through my last days. And as they read my words, I trusted they'd understand that this was a farewell, but also a promise that I'd never be far from them. After I was gone, life continued on. But for my ex-wife and her lover, the path grew noticeably harsher. The community, once oblivious to their secrets, began to see through the cracks, and whispers turned into a steady chorus of disapproval. With my will securely in place, she found herself, without the financial support she'd once taken for granted, left to face the reality of her choices. Her lover, too, found himself struggling, removed from the comforts of the job that once kept their affair under wraps, forced now to reckon with the consequences of his own actions. It was a quiet satisfaction knowing they'd be held accountable, that my plans had protected the family's intentions. With her new reality sinking in, my ex-wife tried to reach out to those around her, but the community's sympathy lay firmly with my family, the scars of betrayal too fresh and visible. She had lost not only a husband but also the trust of friends and the stability she had once depended on. As for her lover, the blow was just as severe, his own financial and social standings waning as his reputation crumbled. Together, they were left to navigate the fallout of their own making, a reality marked by the same emptiness they had brought into our marriage. For my family, this shift brought a kind of relief. My children and close friends could now see the full picture, understanding the choices I'd made to secure their future and preserve our legacy. With the family fund and property safely in their hands, they felt the strength of the stability I'd worked so hard to give them. And as they continued to rebuild, they did so with the assurance that the intentions I'd laid out would carry them forward, a reminder of the resilience and trust that had bound us together in the end. In the months that followed, my family found renewed purpose on the land I'd left to them, the property that had always held our history and dreams. They began planning to build new homes there, a way to keep close and honor the roots we'd established. As they worked together, my children and grandchildren found satisfaction in each small step, bringing life to the legacy we'd built. The joy of coming together, working side by side, was the kind of unity I'd always hoped for. And even in my absence, my intentions seemed to echo through each shared laugh and effort. Our family traditions found new life on that land too. Holidays, birthdays, and gatherings filled the space with laughter, love, and memories, blending the past with the promise of the future. My daughter, often at the heart of these celebrations, would share stories of me, moments that showed how deeply I cared, how intentional I had been about creating a space for our family to thrive. For her, these gatherings weren't just celebrations, but a chance to keep my presence alive, to remind everyone of the strength that our bond had given us. In quiet moments, she'd reflect on the letters and messages I'd left, drawing comfort and wisdom from the words I'd written. As they honored my memory, each family member found their own way to move forward, carrying the satisfaction of knowing they were part of something lasting. With each season, they deepened their roots on that land, weaving a legacy that went beyond wealth or property. It became a legacy of love, resilience, and shared purpose, one they could pass down, ensuring that even after I was gone, our story would live on, shaping generations to come.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.